never cry.
Look what you did, you little jerk.
Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 74 of Formidable Opponents, a show that pits three people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is best in a variety of fun, engaging, and critical pop culture topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me as always Bob and Joseph, and this week's topic is worst Christmas movie character. Christmas, yes, a time for joy, celebration, and goodwill. However, like the gifted t-shirt of a sports team you don't root for, a dish towel, or a used copy of the Snakes on a Plane soundtrack, Christmas doesn't always come with the euphoria, say, Lindsay Lohan is currently experiencing with her career resurgence vehicle, Falling for Christmas. Have you guys seen that? So good. Anyway, Christmas can be spoiled by many uninformed actions, or even worse, unintentional decision. Like when your birthday is 5 days before Christmas and that Nintendo your parents got you in the fourth grade served for both your birthday and Christmas present. This Nintendo didn't even come with a zapper or Duck Hunt. It came with Super Mario Brothers and a big index catalog with all the games you could be playing if your parents got you a separate Christmas gift. Anyway, like those insufferable first world problems, the characters in many Christmas movies reflect the perceived dimming of the Christmas lights in our own lives. Whether it's an annoying family member, an irritable boss, or an asshole bully, those terms not mutually exclusive, one can be all three, especially if you work for a family member in Texas Congress. Anyway, fear not, for you're not alone, as this week, Formidable Opponents will debate which Christmas movie characters can be even worse than those horrible characters in your real life. As always, I'm joined by two guys who have to be triple dog dare to submit their show selections in a timely fashion. Bob and Joseph, how are you guys doing?
What's up, everybody?
We're having a wonderful Christmas time. It doesn't feel like Christmas time because it's like 85 degrees where we live. So
it's gonna get nice. It's supposed to get nice.
It's like nice, high of 72, low of 58. No. It's still not cold enough, Joseph. I want freezing. I want a heater on. I want whiskey.
So guys, we're wrapping up this year's episodes. We have 2 episodes left, 2 more times for this part. But Joseph, you're actually going to have a 3rd episode with our friends, the Did Not Need to Know podcast. We're going to talk about that at the end. So anybody who loves to listen to this show, we're sure you'll enjoy their show. It's the Did Not Need to Know podcast. We're going to talk a little bit more about Joseph's involvement on that podcast, which will air, I think, next week. So look out for that one. So guys, let's talk a little bit about Christmas movies and Christmas movie characters. Why do we love a great, horrible Christmas movie character?
You have to have that kind of villain in a Christmas movie because everybody's so high-spirited and you know, through the goddamn roof with the lights and the mistletoe and the everything's so cheery and bright. You need somebody that brings the mood down, somebody that's like, fuck that, you know what I mean? Somebody that cuts against the grain, somebody listens to heavy metal, right, Joseph? And you need to have that kind of person in these movies because not everybody is all sunshine and rainbows, man. You got to have people that are, you know, that cut against the grain, like I said. So I think that they make the perfect character in these movies. They make the movies interesting. You have to have that, you know, the bah humbug type of character.
Yes, absolutely. I need somebody to relate to, obviously. There has to be somebody, because I guess they have to learn the lesson, if there is a lesson to learn. You know, they just kind of go hand in hand. Not everybody's having the best Christmas. Not everybody enjoys Christmas. So you got to throw one in a movie that kind of brings it down to hopefully lift the main characters, make them feel good, I guess. I don't know.
Say make me feel good.
Here we go.
I absolutely agree. I think in every Christmas movie, you need that antagonist to root against, and they're usually the more interesting characters. I think they're really the glue, and that's why we're doing this topic this week on this episode, because they're more interesting to listen to and to watch and to laugh at than the protagonist, because the protagonist, you know that so-and-so is going to go off to a farm and fall in love with a farmhand, and the asshole husband in New York who's a big time like lawyer or something is going to get dumped. So you need that.
You've been watching way too much Hallmark. And speaking of relatability, Joseph, did you see what I posted on Instagram? The Metallica singing over what was Last Christmas? Did you like that?
I did not like it.
I put that in our stories.
I did see it, and I did not like it. There's no reason any of these songs should have that beat, that Casio keyboard, whatever line playing behind them. Leave them alone, please. Don't ruin my songs.
Leave Wham alone.
So, guys, what is the most important evil characteristic a great bad Christmas movie character has to have?
He has to have a shitty attitude, and he has to have that bad attitude, man. If he or she,
all inclusive. Yes.
Well, we're all inclusive. Yes, exactly. Like peanut butter cups, man. Yeah, so they got to have this bad attitude. Again, they got to be. They don't have to be totally against Christmas, but they're like, okay, it's Christmas. Get the fuck over it. They have to have that kind of attitude to go along with them. You know what I mean? Of course, a lot of them end up becoming better at the end. Some of them don't. Some of them stay assholes and stay true to themselves. So you got to kind of respect that. But they got to have a different mindset. The mindset is it's Christmas, big fucking whoop. Let's move on. I like that.
Going back to Randall's love of Hallmark movies, you got to have some kind of I think nowadays adding that extra like greed, the asshole boyfriend or girlfriend, because these Hallmark movies are usually about a girl leaving her asshole boyfriend, but hey, it could happen the other way around. We're all inclusive.
Hey, yes.
Leaving the that asshole person who cares more about making money and so there's that. I think there's that added element to these movies as well, especially those. I mean, because they're just
let me just say something. There's a hole in the argument for those Hallmark movies. Like, I'm gonna leave my asshole lawyer boyfriend or husband that bought me all these nice Christmas gifts and go with the farmer who's handsome, but he's only gonna give me a squash for Christmas because it's farming's down right now. If you look at the economy, come on, guys.
There was one Hallmark movie I watched. I can't remember all the plots are the same, right? What am I talking about?
Exactly.
But it's
how dare you?
They're always vehicles for, I don't want to say washed up actors and actors. Well, they are kind of, right? I was watching this one where Andy Garcia and Mary Louise Parker fell in love because of their love.
Louise Parker.
I love Mary Louise. She's great on
Andy
Weeds.
Garcia, is that Jerry Garcia's brother?
No, Andy Garcia, Godfather 3. Anyway, they fell in love over a merry-go-round or a Ferris wheel, and it was just like, what are you doing, Andy Garcia? You were in The Godfather. So, I mean, we lost a good one with Andy Garcia when he fell in love on a Ferris wheel with Mary Louise Parker.
Didn't he just do Father of the Bride 4 or some shit?
I think so. Too? Yeah, I have not watched that.
The Latino version.
Yeah. Why do a lot of those movies have farms, bakeries, or old diner restaurants?
They're in it's because they're in old country towns. This is where the magic happens.
McDonald's is coming to take over the local diner, and I'm here to shut you all down.
The spirit of Christmas.
No, I fell in love with the cook.
Hire all of them. Yeah,
I fell in love with the cook who makes scrambled eggs by hand.
And they always real eggs, Joseph. It's McDonald's.
They always have that really nice looking town square that is ideal, scenic, and the trees are perfect and the snow's perfect.
Yeah.
They always have that town square.
Those places actually exist. I've been to. There's this place called Manitou Springs in Colorado.
Fucking lied to me.
In
Colorado.
That was as close to Hallmark movie as I've ever seen. That place was
this before
awesome.
or after the medical marijuana?
After.
It was a magical place. At this, everything
it looked good.
Did you fall in love with a handsome goat herder?
No, but I bought a very nice Native American blanket to keep me warm.
We have those there too. They just have horses and tigers on them. They're the Mexican blankets, Joseph. They're the warmest thing you can ever have. Besides your Letterman jacket.
You put them on the windows when it gets too hot too. Oh, man. So okay, yes.
Paper?
I think all good bad guys believe they are doing right. I think the best bad guys or bad girls, whatever, bad people in Christmas movies, they always feel that their intention is 100% pure and correct. You have a lot of great movies that have individuals who know they're behaving badly, but I always find the best bad person characters are the ones that are the people who think that their actions are justifiable, and I think that's what makes a great bad guy, girl, whatever. So. Why is Christmas time such a great setting to bring out the worst in some of these characters?
It's funny. It's comedy.
Yeah.
Especially there's a lot of these comedies. I mean, we don't see too many, as far as I can remember, as far as I know, we don't see a lot of like drama movie? Do we see like are the classics, like when we think about classic Christmas movies and things like that? Not so much the new shit. I know we were getting into, you know, we briefly talked about all these, you know, dime a dozen Hallmark movies, but if we look at all the classics, they're all comedies. You know, how many of them are actual dramas or whatnot? So I think, you know, these characters come out to make us laugh. That's
I think those characters are there so that way your mom or your grandma can point them out and see, like, see, this is the way you're acting. You shouldn't be acting that way. It's Christmas.
You know, my wife likes to watch these Christmas movies. My wife likes to watch these.
You gotta say her name, remember?
Yeah, Jessica likes to. Let's drop that, all right? Jessica likes to watch these, and she said this is a really good one, and it had Christina Milian, and I don't remember any of the other actors, and it was about, she was a high powered publicist, and they
always are.
Yes, and she had a client who was like this rock star woman, and the woman, she was always partying, getting into trouble. I can't remember the actress's name, and she was drinking a martini and she choked on the olive, and so she died. So now the ghost of this rock star woman was guiding Christina Milian's life, where I think she found out like her boyfriend's an asshole. I don't remember the rest of the movie, but I was like, this is what the good ones are. Because I wasn't feeling it, but I mean, hey, I guess they're all categorized, right? They're all kind of one and the same. I mean, they're money makers. Hallmark, Netflix is doing it. We have other channels.
Amazon now, like even the major networks are like, CBS has been running commercials for like the two that they're gonna have.
It's one of those things where, like, if you see the Hallmark channel is on 24/7, dude, and during this time it's just all Christmas movies, and they're seeing how much these cheesy movies are making money and getting viewership, so that they can we gotta you know put our name in the hat, you know what I mean, to get along with this, because they get a ton of viewership.
Yeah, like, we make fun of them. Like, I want to say just real quick on that, I know we make fun of them. Everybody makes fun of them. They're fun to make fun of, but we know that they get the viewers. Those people make bank during this time, and then they show them again in July with their Christmas in July specials, you know.
Check out the movies you haven't seen since December.
Who's your favorite Hallmark actress? Is it Candace Cameron or Lacey Chabert?
Candace, I think that's a different kind of DMX there, Joe.
Lacey Chabert.
Candace.
Yeah, she's making her money there. All right, guys. So
I like Candace Cameron. Before we move out, Candace Cameron was great, and what was it, in Full House?
Yes, but now she's
that was a long time ago.
Turned her back on all of us. Anyway, so any horrible Christmas characters in your real life? You don't have to name names, but is there somebody? Or
I'm naming fucking names.
All right, go ahead, Bob.
No, I'm just kidding.
There's this one guy
at band camp.
Who, you want to go? You want to go?
Go. You want to go? You want to go? You want to go? Now go ahead, Joseph.
There's this one motherfucker who's trying to convince me that All I Want for Christmas Is You is the greatest fucking song of all time.
He sounds handsome.
I was like, he knows what he's talking about.
Is he stealing you from your high-powered attorney boyfriend?
I was fucking with Randy.
There's always, you get together, because we all know this. We're used to, when we were growing up, we used to get together in these big get-togethers for Thanksgiving, for Christmas especially, to give exchange, to hang out, to have drinks. Everybody gets together, aunts, uncles, cousins. You know, it's always a big family get-together. And as you well know, Rand, and Joseph probably too, there's always one asshole, one aunt, or one uncle that starts shit, that stirs the pot. Every family has one. Maybe it's a grandma, maybe it's an aunt, maybe it's an uncle, maybe it's a cousin. There's always somebody who likes to stir the pot and start shit and leaves early because they get in a big argument, and everybody's like, well, fuck them. They're trying to ruin her. It happens in every family. So there's always one Grinch or one Scrooge or one, right. You know, there always is. There always is, man. There always is.
I do know somebody, and I work with this person. None of those people know that I do this.
They will now. We're global.
This person. I don't know. They tend to be. If I don't know if this is you want to say a horrible Christmas character, or maybe a Grinch in their own right. If the Christmas situation isn't going the way they want it, they completely like wipe their hands with it. When it comes to like decorating the office, things like that, if it's not like, if the suggestion that this person makes for a particular decoration or some bullshit or whatever, you know, the Christmas lunch, whatever it may be, if they're suggestions are passed over or altered in any way, they tend to like, well, fine, do whatever you want then, you know, like, and then they turn into a fucking Grinch, like throughout the rest of it. They don't want to do anything. So that's probably the closest thing, I guess. Everyday's Post is pretty cool.
I wanted to add to that. You know, everybody's got their own level of the way they celebrate Christmas. I've had it when I've been at school, like, oh, they really want to do this. We're going to hang this up and everybody's going to take pictures. And I'm like, what do you suggest to do? And like, whatever y'all want to do is fine. Well, if you're not into it, and like, what the fuck? I just said whatever is fine. You know what I mean? Some of us are really into it. Some of us try to push it. And some people are like way over the top. We're cool. It's good. Like, you know, hey, we should do this with the tree. Cool. Let's do it. Well, if you don't want, no, I'm good. I'm one of those people like, yeah, go with the flow type of thing, you know, have a lot of fun with it. But yeah, some people can be a little over the top with their Christmas ideas or their
I agree.
If you're not as enthusiastic as them, they get offended or they're just like, well, fine, forget it.
Let's go on to our honorable mentions, guys. Who do you have for your honorable mentions for worst Christmas movie character? We'll start off with you, Joseph.
The Santa Claus movies, with the Tim Allen ones, the first one is obviously a classic. The second one was okay. The third one was completely unnecessary. And fortunately, the character that I'm talking about right now, Jack Frost, played by the great Martin Short, even though I love the dude, it's just, the movie was unnecessary and his character is just, anyway. So I got him there. I got him on the list. I got Ted, Moulton from Jingle All the Way, played by, what's his name? The late...
Phil Hartman.
Passed away. Phil Hartman. Oh, yes. He's a complete asshole in that movie.
He's great. That's a good one.
I know. He's awesome, but he's a fucking asshole. He's trying to screw his neighbor's wife and everything. These cookies.
Phil Hartman. I love Phil Hartman.
Great movie. That's why. Yeah, that's why it's such a great movie. Anyway, I got Dusty Dinkelman from Just Friends. Chris, what's his name? Dusty Lee. He's a fucking asshole.
He's got 12 fingers.
I also got Samantha James from the same movie. She's kind of crazy and out there. It's funny. Of course, people like the Wet Bandits, love Home Alone, but they're they're getting ready to kill a kid. The Grinch, of course, the classic Grinch. Just love him. Frank Cross, and of course Hans Gruber, baby.
I love Hans Gruber. And I had a lot of similar picks right now, but one that you haven't mentioned, you didn't mention, and my kids would kill me if I didn't mention, is Professor Hinkle, dude, from Frosty the Snowman. Of course,
yes.
That guy is such a douche, and he didn't even want the fucking hat. Then all of a sudden the kids want it, or he finds it magical. He's like, no, I want it back. Fucking almost gets run over by a train. It has some poor little girl, chase a poor little girl to the North Pole. Her fucking family's all worried about her. Come on, man. Professor Hinkle, he should have been my pick. Frank Cross from Scrooged, one of my favorite Christmas movies growing up. I thought that Bill Murray was awesome in it. Of course, Ebenezer Scrooge, of course, is another big villain or asshole character, if you want to call it. The Grinch, how could you go wrong with the Grinch? Of course, he does find his heart and becomes good at the end. But I thought that I really did think that Professor Hinkle was the one. He was a really close second for me because I thought he was just a major douche. And then he was terrible at magic as well. So
okay, so my selections, I had Hans Gruber from Die Hard. I mean, his lines, his acting. This was Alan Rickman's first movie role, and he was brilliant. A stage actor comes in, completely turns it up. I have Meisterburger, who from Santa Claus is Coming to Town. He was kind of like the Hans Landa of claymation. I think he was an inspiration for that character. I had the Grinch from The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. I want to tell you why I don't like the Grinch. I was in PE. Sixth grade, and this was back in the 80s, late 80s, and I remember
is this another shower story.
This actually it kind of is. So I was leaving the shower because in middle school they make you shower, and when I was walking out, towel around my waist, of course, this coach sees me and he says, "Hey, sir," and you know how asshole PE coaches can be, we know most of them are, all of them are. Anyway, so especially the football, the biggest pieces of shit. Anyway,
so mean to me, they didn't pick me for the team.
So this coach sees me and he calls me over, and I'm thinking like, he's gonna ask me to try out for the team. And he says, Hey, sir, you've got a weird body, sir. You got a small chest and a big stomach. You're shaped like the Grinch, sir. And like, I mean, this was like back in the 80s where, I mean, you could not do this now. He would have been reported. You're like, mira, look, Grinch. There comes the Grinch. Every time he's I'm like, you motherfucker. I mean, there I was, probably like psychologically scarred, and probably crying in my pillow at night. And then like,
How can I ever get a girl if I'm shaped like the Grinch? Mr. Sosa said so.
So this fucking coach would call me the Grinch because I had a big stomach and a small chest.
That's hilarious, man.
Anyway, Frank Cross from Scrooge. My favorite line is staple the antlers on the mouse's head. Professor Hinkle.
Can we please stop hammering for the love of God? I love that. Sorry.
I'm with you, Bob. Professor Hinkle stealing Frosty's hat. All the asshole reindeer and Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, they only used them because when they needed them, they brought them on board. Assholes. So speaking of Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, and I first heard this from Mike and Mike in the Morning. Mike Golick pointed this out. I was just watching this with my kids. There's an elf out there. Well, you remember the island of the misfit toys. They all were malfunctioning. There was a bird that couldn't fly. And so at the end, when the elf is tossing out all the toys, he's giving them an umbrella. So like, you know, the train has an umbrella, the Jack in the Box or Charlie in the Box had an umbrella, and he picks up the bird and he just tosses the bird without an umbrella. The fucking bird can't fly. So the elf murdered the bird. I don't know. So it was
nature versus nurture. Nature versus nurture. Nature always wins, sir.
I got Ivan Drago. Does he count? I mean, he's a bad guy. He's Christmas.
Is he really though? He was fighting for his country, sir.
Ebenezer Scrooge. I got the Krampus. I got Kate McAllister from Home Alone. How are you going to lose your son twice? I mean, maybe the third time you lose him to CPS. I don't know, but I think that's just an awful way to go. So those are my honorable mentions. Let's go on with our selections. And Bob, you're up first.
Okay, so this is not even a fucking debate. I mean, I don't even know why we have this. There's only one. There's one from my childhood. And I think from a lot of people, if you're within that 33 to 45 range, there's only one asshole who's the worst Christmas character of all time, and that's Uncle Frank from Home Alone. Okay, you look first, man. I mean, Gerald. His name is Gerald Baman, and he's such a great actor, and he plays his character to a T. There is no bigger asshole in this film. First off, he's a goddamn cheapskate, living off both his brother's shit, right? He gets pissed off at Kevin, even though his kids ain't worth a shit either. He tries to steal the salt and pepper shaker off the plane because they're crystal. He's asking for more. As soon as he gets on, hey, it's free, right? It's free. The champagne's free. Like, he seems like such a cheapskate. And, me and Joseph were talking about this, and we're saying, like, if we believe that the McAllister's father or the brother that lives in Paris is works for the mob, because how do they afford such a big house and going to Paris for Christmas? Can you imagine how much each plane ticket costs? Come on, even in the 90s.
And has a house in New York.
Yeah, so we're saying, who's Frank? Frank's the guy that you Joe Pesci saying he's going to be a godfather. You walk him in another room and he gets shot in the back of the head because he's a liability. That's who Frank is, okay? Frank, I mean, like, he's just such a bad guy. Then, like, in part two, you're thinking, well, maybe he'll be a nice guy. He's there singing in the shower. And what does he do? Fucking screams at Kevin, who's not in there, looking at him. Kevin's a little shit as well. He makes fun of Kevin when the older brother is fucking with him during a church choir. I mean, Jesus Christ, who laughs at that kind of shit? He should be getting mad at the older brother Buzz because Buzz is screwing around with Kevin while he's trying to sing during a church choir. No, he blames it on Kevin. I think he just has it out for him. I don't know what it is. Maybe because Uncle Frank is he's the biggest asshole and jerk. He never learns his lesson. He makes the mom feel bad even when she realizes on the plane that she left Kevin at home. He's just that guy. He is that guy. You want to know why he's the worst character? Because he's the most relatable. Because we all have somebody in our family or a friend that during Christmas is that fucking guy. He's the cheap one. He's the negative one. He's the pain in the ass. But you have to invite him over or else your grandma will get mad. What do y'all think about him?
All right, Bob, I think a lot of people are going to agree with you. He is a jerk in the movie. I don't know if you guys have seen the deleted scenes in Home Alone. There's this one scene where just asshole move. He's talking to Kevin and they're walking down the stairs and I can't remember the conversation exactly, but he had told Kevin something like, you know how they would pronounce your name in Paris? And then Kevin goes, well, how? And he says, Yank. And then he pulls his pants down and then runs down the stairs like a fucking 10-year-old kid. So I'm so it's on YouTube. Check out deleted scene Uncle Frank from Home Alone. It's so unnecessary and something you probably can't get away with ever. So just terrible. Very selfish and negative. And I think, guys, when we discussed best movie last year, we touched upon Kelsey Grammer was up for this role, but scheduling difficulties and conflicts prevented him from committing. What do you guys think? We talked about it last year. Kevin Bam. Well, I'm sorry. What was his name, Bob? Bamman? Jerry Bamman, right? Jerry Bamman.
Yeah, Bamman.
He was so good. But if Grammer plays this role, is he still Frasier or is he Uncle Frank the rest of his life?
He's Uncle Frasier.
Uncle Frasier.
I think that would have been a waste of Kelsey Grammer. Like you said, this guy played it perfectly. This character is who he is because of this guy. And I just think and it's not that big of a part. So I just think that would have been a waste of Kelsey Grammer. It was perfect. It ended up working out for the best, I think, for both of them. Maybe
he was great in Cheers. But Uncle Frank, the ultimate freeloader, refused to pay for pizza. I mean, they're buying him a ticket to Paris, and they're putting him up in a hotel.
And he refused to pay $100 for pizza. You cheap bastard.
Yeah, $100 plus. He refused to pay. So he forgets his reading glasses. He compares the loss of their child to saying, "If it makes you feel any better, I forgot my reading glasses." One of the best lines. One of the best lines in the movie. I shared how last year this movie Home Alone was so huge, and we couldn't get tickets for it. We wanted to watch it in December, and a bunch of cousins of mine and we brought tickets to Look Who's Talking Too. And we snuck into Home Alone, and what a great movie. But I will say this about Uncle Frank. He can sing the shit out of the cool jerk, so that's one plus for him, right? He laughed at Buzz placing the candlesticks, as you mentioned, behind Kevin's ears, which is kind of, an asshole thing to do. There's an unconvincing fan...
In church, sir.
In church. There's an unconvincing fan theory that he was the mastermind behind the Wet Bandits burglary scheme. I don't buy that. I don't think that really works. But
broke my heart, man. Just like in The Godfather.
There is a good 5 minutes in the movie where Kevin is acting bratty, and so Uncle Frank snapping at him, it's warranted. Maybe not calling him a little jerk, but it's warranted, And at least he tried to stop Kevin from watching the gangster movie. I think what gets lost is that Kevin's entire family, they're all assholes, and I don't think there's a unique and discernible quality that makes Uncle Frank more of an asshole than everyone else. He was just a bit more well-rounded because he had more lines with Kevin. He had more scene time. I mean, Buzz, all the cousins, the kid that can't drink Pepsi, Fuller, all these people in the house, Pete and Pete, all these guys that were
Pete. Yes, you brought up Pete and Pete. I was hoping Joseph would bring it up. I'm glad you brought it up. Pete and Pete, the kid from Pete and Pete was on it. That's awesome.
So everybody in that house was a jerk to Kevin, but you got to look at the history. Why are they annoyed with Kevin? There has to have been a string of misbehaviors and violent tantrums that Kevin exhibited throughout the course of the family history. And
sure, he's an asshole.
He is a little asshole. And by the way, Kevin had an intricate knowledge of torture devices and sound. He had sound engineering skills. Are we sure he's not the bad guy or a future bad guy? He's like the kid. He's like Jigsaw. So I think when you look at Uncle Frank's behavior, you might say it's warranted because Kevin is a little prick. Joseph, what do you think?
Yeah, Kevin didn't pay for the tickets to Paris, goddammit.
He's a child, bro. He's a child. Calm down.
He was 17 years old when he made that movie.
75 years old.
You know what? This is one of those top picks in my opinion. I think this is Bob's going to get a lot of votes with this one. I know when he mentioned it to me immediately, I thought to myself, that is a very good selection. A moocher. And it's funny. This all kind of goes into that. We're not going to go into it too much. I mean, you can go on the internet, but this whole backstory, quote unquote, fan theory that the father, the family, the father, the brother, and the other brother are somehow connected to the mob. And yeah, Bob's right. Like Uncle Frank is the mooch who's always causing problems. He's grumpy. Why? I don't know. He has kids of his own. He's very much self-entitled. He's constantly thinking about his own needs. He's very much materialistic, and like I said, he mooches off of his brother for some reason. I don't know, maybe he's a fuck up. He's there in the business, and I don't know who to compare him to. Maybe I
can name real names, but I don't want.
He's no. I mean, like in movie wise, like actual mob movies. Maybe he's like Nicky's brother that gets he's the one that gets killed first before in what was it, Casino?
Dominic.
Yeah. But
Dominic.
my mother always used to say when we were, because like I said, I watched this movie many times when I was a kid. My mom always made a point, and I don't think I've heard her say it in a while, but if it was on, she always used to say that I don't care if it was your dad's brothers or my brothers or whoever, if one of your uncles ever called you a jerk, I would have fucking knocked him out. Or I would have done, and I don't know what it is. I think Bob, you said this, Bob, like what's his beef with Kevin? Like it just seems like it's so on Kevin, like all the time. And I don't really see him do this, give this much crap to the other kids. I
think it's because Kevin's stealing his spotlight. That's what it is. He wants to be like the little brat that everybody pays attention to.
It's funny you mentioned. It's funny, Randy, you mentioned the deleted scene. Supposedly, there's a deleted scene from Home Alone 2 that was never released yet, where when the parents find out where Kevin is based on the credit cards, Frank complains about Kevin ruining another family vacation, and supposedly like. His parents actually tell him like, you know what, you need to shut the fuck up. Yeah. I guess it wouldn't have been good for the story. This is a great pick. I think what hinders him in this selection, the only thing that I'll say negative, he has a limited screen time, and but it's memorable screen time. That's the makes you. I mean, he's very memorable, but it's a limited amount of screen time.
Would you have stolen the salt and pepper shaker on an airplane, Joseph, in first class?
Nah, I don't need.
Who is the bigger dick, Uncle Frank or the dad who brought the parents were all in first class and all the kids were left in the back for the stewardess to fucking handle? Because I'm not gonna pay attention and take care of those assholes on a 12-hour flight to Paris. Fuck them.
Have y'all seen that meme where they talk about the McAllister house and how could he afford the plane tickets and the trip to Paris for 9 people? And John Hurt had a stint on The Sopranos where I think he was like Tony's lawyer, crooked lawyer. He was something. I forgot. I can't remember. So they always show like, how could he afford all this? And they show him, with Tony Soprano, like cutting a deal. So, it's kind of a mafia tie-in. You guys joked about it.
He definitely has a mafia tie, dude. He has to. God damn it. There's no
What
way.
did we say? We said, I told Bob the other day, I said, he's got to be like the lawyer or something, or the accountant or something. Yeah. He's not necessarily the muscle.
But they're all in on it because the brother has a house in New York and in Paris.
Yeah, we said that.
Great, dude. Come on, man.
The same brother that they go visit in Paris is the one that has the house that's being renovated in New York in part 2.
That they ate.
Shrimp.
Do you guys? I don't know about y'all, but when I see John Candy in any movie, he just lights up the screen. I mean, I love John Candy.
We talked on Saturday. We hung out. The kids at night we're drinking and hanging out, and we put on Home Alone, and that was the one scene we started as soon as John Candy came on. And I know he ad-libbed a lot of his lines in the movie, and man, he is just such a. You see him, and you're like, man, he reminds me of my childhood. He was always such a funny and great person, And then from what I've read, he was like an even better person than what we probably knew he was. So it's. I wish he was gone way too soon. What he died like 41 years old.
He was very young. Yeah, 1995, I believe. 94.
95 on the set of his movie. Man, it was really sad to hear. I mean, that guy was such a sweethearted and really, really funny. The Great Outdoors is still one of my favorite childhood movies.
I don't know if it's true. Was he like not paid, or did he do it as a favor? I'm
not sure. I know that he ad-libbed. He did it as a favor. I know he was in Uncle Buck with Macaulay Culkin, and John Hughes wrote it. John Hughes also wrote Home Alone. So I think he did it as a favor for John Hughes, a small cameo where he just, he ad-libbed everything.
No. Power of Google, people. John Candy was only paid $414.
Wow,
for his work on Home Alone. He was just like, it was only 22 hours of work.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he was like, he knew that it would pay off dividends in the future because working with John Hughes and
he got to meet Elvis.
Did a favor, yeah, and he got to meet Elvis in the airport line.
If you want to watch a great John Candy scene, watch him as Ox on Stripes, where he does the mud wrestling with the two women.
Yes,
it's a
yes,
great
yes,
scene.
yes.
All right, we'll go on. We can talk about John Candy. We'll probably do a John Candy episode at some point. He's just so wonderful.
man.
So my selection for worst Christmas movie character is Scut Farkus from A Christmas Story. I have to apologize to all my ginger friends due to my Ed Sheeran comments a few weeks ago. I'm attacking another ginger this week. Okay, so I don't know if you guys dealt with bullies. You guys probably were the bullies, by the way.
No, we were always very nice. We were never the bullies. That's Joseph. We protected kids from the bullies. We were the good kids.
But the first one,
Grinch.
the first bully I dealt with had red hair. See, it's a deep psychological vicissitude of my life. It's coming into play right now. I can't even eat at a Wendy's. Okay. Anyway, so Scut Farkus just looks like an asshole kid. He has a smile that permeates evil. He's soulless in a way. I feel bad for him because he may not have had great parents, though he does cry for his mother when Ralphie beats the shit out of him. But we'll get that in a moment. So I don't know if this is a case of upbringing. Scut Farkus has a small but memorable role in A Christmas Story, but everyone remembers what a dick he was to everyone. Crimes of abuse, torture, and assault, making kids scream uncle. And he can't be an elementary school kid. No way. He was like a whole foot taller than the rest of the kids. But kudos to Zach Ward, who plays Scut, because he looked the part. They could only cast two people in this role. It's either Ward or Saints backup quarterback Andy Dalton. And
say Ivan Drago.
And Ward is a more accurate snowball thrower. So, so here's a great anecdote from Zach Ward. I was listening to an interview. He was talking about A Christmas Story. He said, I went to 8 different schools before junior high. My name was Zach. I had red hair and I had a miniature poodle named Tinkerbell. So I got into a lot of fights. So here's an iconic movie villain, and people, they know him by name, even though he has very little screen time. He has his own henchman, a toady named Grover Dill, the kid who looks like Brian Johnson from AC/DC.
I told you, AC/DC, man. That's what I think of.
Scott has his own theme music that he shared with the Wolf on Peter and the Wolf. He has a great killer laugh, a rotten name, yellow eyes, and the only defense for him was to lay there like a slug, which is a great line that the narrator says. Kudos to Zach Ward. He beat out 300 kids in the cattle call, and that evil laugh was just phenomenal. Best evil laugh since Ted DiBiase. Anyway, what a great asshole name. Scut. Not Scott. Scut. Then Ralphie, our protagonist, gives the bully what we want to give all bullies. He gives him the beatdown of his life, the truest satisfaction of watching a horrible person laying there and having his comeuppance. They took the Darth Vader mask off Scut, and he was like the maskless Vader. He looked like Billy Joel playing the harmonica. He was beaten up and just left for dead. And Zach Ward was telling the story how you can't have kids beat up each other in movies. And so the director, Bob Clark, who, by the way, Bob Clark, Canadian, directed Porky's before this and then directed a kids movie. Anyway.
There's a little mole.
So when Ralphie was beating up Scut, he couldn't punch him for real in the face, but he had the gloves on and he had the idiot strings on the gloves. The idiot strings are like strings that are tied to the gloves so little kids don't lose them. That's what they would call them. And so Zach Ward was saying that his gloves were like frozen. So every time he would throw a punch, he wasn't hitting them, but the gloves were hitting his face. So he said, when I got up, my face was all red because this guy's solid frozen gloves were hitting me about the face. And so, I mean, he said, like, that acting was real. I was really getting the shit beat out of me. And kudos again to director Bob Clark. He kept the kids apart. He kept Scut and Grover away from Ralphie and his friends, away from the scenes. So come on, crybabies, cry for me. What do you guys think about this character?
Cry, baby, cry. Okay, dude. So Scut Farkus, he I don't think he could be the worst movie villain character considering how quickly he folded as soon as another kid threw a punch at him. As soon as that raccoon hat was knocked off from the damn what's his name from the goddamn Alamo? Joseph, help me out here.
Davy Crockett.
Davy Crockett ducked up the Davy Crockett hat and punched him in the nose. I really do think that Randy has a problem with redheads, the redheaded stepchild. There has to be a childhood trauma. We're going to get down to it. Maybe the coach who called him the Grinch had red hair. We're going to get down to it, folks. I promise you. We're going to figure this out right together. I promise. I think that he really is such an iconic character. I mean, there's a lot of great characters and great personalities from A Christmas Story, but of course, he finds out that Peter and the Wolf music they play with him is so perfect. Peter and the Wolf is one of my favorite childhood movies, and have that as the playback behind him, so that way like, oh shit, this guy's bad news. the bully, the Christmas bully that gets beat up. But you know what? Who's a bigger bully in the movie? Is it Scud Farkus or is it the goddamn man that plays Santa Claus at the mall who kicks him in the face and pushes him down the slide, who's making all the kids cry? It's obviously the Christmas Santa Claus, the mall Santa Claus, who's the biggest jerk and movie villain in this damn movie. So I don't know if he lives up to that bill. He does have a small role. Again, he calls for his mom when he's getting beat up. So obviously he got some family problems at home, Rand. God damn it, have some respect. You know he's got some childhood, single parent home. We're supposed to be an all-inclusive show, peanut butter cups, and you're leaving this kid out, poor bastard. No, I'm just kidding. But I think it's a great pick. It's a great character, a great Christmas bully. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. There's a lot of bad characters in this movie. The Christmas Santa Claus, the elves were assholes there too at the Christmas. The dad's such a sweetheart. He's just trying to make shit happen. You know who's a very underrated asshole? The mom. You just go back and watch a Christmas. The mom's probably one of the she's trying to cut down beautiful lamp. It's a major award, and she wants to take it down. She breaks the lamp. She's like puts soap in Ralphie's mouth for something he heard from his friend saying like she is the negative Nancy of this film. You just go back and watch it. She's a negative Nancy. Sorry. Okay, go ahead, Joseph.
Fragile.
It's French.
It's Italian. It must be Italian. This character, Scud Farkus. You know what, man? I think more so than anything, he's more memorable. He's just memorable. I wouldn't necessarily call him a Christmas villain. I didn't think about it until Bob mentioned what he said right now. Yeah, there's a lot of dynamics going on in this movie as far as the villain. Scud is his offenses are juvenile and obnoxious. Most definitely, he's a fucking bully, which is sad. Bullying in any way is not cool back then, today. So of course, it's a crap situation. He borderline tortures the kids. So there's some,
he's a dick, obviously.
He's very much a little piece of crap for what is he supposed to be, a 10-year-old or what is he? I don't remember. I don't know what he's supposed to be in this, but it's kind of what I said about Frank. Limited screen time, so I think he's just kind of like with Bob's pick, very memorable. Not necessarily the main, even for movies like Die Hard and The Grinch and Scrooge. Like the villain is a very much, or the person that we're saying is the villain is very much a prominent character in the movie. And I know Scud is involved and he gets, in the end, Ralphie gets his revenge. And I'm sorry to say this, but the kid deserved an ass beating. He deserved what he got, most definitely. I know that sounds sad, or that doesn't sound very good, but it's definitely walked the line of psychotic and juvenile bullying. I look at it more as a kid thing. We see a lot of movies, more friendly movies, as far as like Christmas, where there is a kid who's like kind of the bully, and then in the end he kind of learns, from his mistake. I guess him and the main character maybe have, some kind of understanding, and it usually involves some kind of situation maybe where like the kid doesn't have the best family life. We're not too familiar with this kid's family life though, right?
Obviously, he was calling for his mom, and come on, man. Way to go, Rand.
I have a question for you guys. So, Bob,
I'm not putting in. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Joseph.
Whoa. What I was saying about, we're not sure about his family life. I'm not putting any of that, on the kid's behavior or the character's behavior, So
we already called him a little asshole. Don't worry about it. I think they know. I think they know how we feel.
I have a question for you guys, and this is a bit of trivia. So Bob Clark, the director, he had not met the kids before the shooting started. So originally, Zach Ward, who played Scud Farkus, was supposed to play the henchman. He was supposed to play the Grover Dill character. And the short kid, I can't remember the kid's name, he was supposed to be Scud Farkus. And he saw him. He saw there was a foot difference in height. He said, you know what? You get his lines, You're the main guy, you're the henchman. Do you think it would have worked out better if the roles were reversed, if the AC/DC kid would have been...
I'll tell you what, it would have been a hell of a lot funnier if it was that way. If it had flipped around and like They saw the big kid, and then there was a little kid that they were actually afraid of instead of the big redhead. I think it would have been a lot funnier. But I think it would have worked out that way as well. I think that's whoever the writer was, the casting director, I guess they were kind of thinking that same thing. But it worked out really well at the end.
If Zach Ward had played the henchman character, they could have had the opportunity to have him as like, these movies where there's like some bad guy or whatever always has some dumb, tall henchman who's like, fumbles over himself. So there was opportunities for that too. I think it would have worked out fine. But hey, great character. Very, very memorable. This movie is a classic. Like I said, limited screen time. And I think since most of his stuff was just, towards the kids, albeit bullying. It's up in the air.
The mom is the asshole of that movie. Check it out.
Let's go on with our next selection. Joseph, who do you got for us?
All right. I got Mr. Clark Griswold of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. While he is the star of the movie, Clark Griswold is also very much the villain of the story. His motivations blindly lead him to numerous acts of evil, danger, and physical and mental abuse to those around him. And why? All in the name of capturing some perfect family Christmas that, after his emotional moment in the attic, watching old home movies. Again, so blind to the fact of how much damage he's actually causing. He endangers his family more times than not with the road rage incidents, and finding the perfect tree and putting his family's health at risk. You can look at the example of his daughter Audrey. Her eyes are frozen open. Just let it go, Clark. He disregards his wife's concerns constantly. His wife, who's so patient, I guess, and a saint. She's a saint, exactly. He's always disregarding what she has to say. He makes lewd insults towards his female neighbor. You know what I'm talking about. Was she snobbish? Sure, but still, I mean, it didn't need to be. That wouldn't fly.
Over and I'll show you.
Yeah, it wouldn't fly this day.
I wasn't talking to you.
He also destroys his neighbor's property. I mean, again, snobbish as they may be, like I said, but they didn't do anything destructive to Clark. He's got a perfectly fine wife, great looking, saint, like we said. Yet he's fantasizing about the girl in the mall in the store. Look, Russ, no lines.
Mary, that's my name. No shit.
He has very, very bad temper tantrums, almost leading to fits of rage. And we see this at the end. His big blow up at the end of the movie. He's verbally abusive to his cousin Eddie, and I know Eddie's not the best, but he also spews some hurtful and crude remarks towards to Uncle Lewis and Aunt Bethany behind their backs. I mean, I know we all do that, but you try not to do that to the older generation in your family.
He lit his tree on fire, Joseph.
Aside from all that, with all that being said, though, I will say I'd like to make it clear I still love this movie. It's a classic. I see it every year. When I was putting these points together to get my point across, I thought to myself, maybe this is the way it's supposed to be, and I didn't think about it like that. Maybe he's not supposed to learn a lesson. Maybe that's just who he is. But with all that I mentioned, I mean, although he's a star, he's very much he's an asshole. I know this wasn't the first movie in the Vacation series, but he never learns his lesson. I mean, even through Christmas, he still continues his shit. If I remember correctly, I mean, what is it called? The
Jelly of the month.
Jelly of the month.
That's a gift that keeps on giving.
He borderline threatens his boss. I mean, it's borderline violence. Like I said, I love the movie. We all love the movie. We love it. He's funny. It's funny to us. But if you really look at the character as a whole, he's very much a villain, and he treats his family like shit. So go ahead, guys.
He loves his kids, Joseph.
I know he does. We love this movie.
Nobody could play this role like Chevy Chase. I like the little, like, sort of subdued, not violent, but sort of like, he's on the edge. Like when he's telling goodbye to those guys, like,
Cheers, fool.
Yeah. Like,
Don't
goodbye.
piss me off, Lou.
He's telling those guys goodbye, kiss my ass, kiss his ass. You know, so I mean, he's got like that passive aggressive anger that's so good. But can we all agree that Clark Griswold has excellent taste in women? I think we could all agree that. Ellen,
Yes.
Christy Brinkley, Mary at the department store. I think we could talk about the women that surround Clark a little bit, because you have all these people that just Chevy Chase plays off of very well. And I'm fascinated by Chevy Chase. I want to talk a little bit about Chevy Chase before I talk about Clark. You know, he was SNL's first breakout star in the 80s. Funny, tall, handsome, great comedic timing and physicality. I don't think he ever got the breakthrough that Tom Hanks did, because we got to remember that Tom Hanks was a comedic actor. He did a lot of sitcoms, Happy Days, Family Ties. He did Splash, and he just broke through as a serious actor. I always thought Chevy Chase was headed that route. Never got through with it because I think he's a jerk in real life. And maybe that's what blends well with Clark Griswold. He was a jerk, but if you want three excellent, not so well-known Chevy Chase performances, forget The Vacations. Great movies, right? Caddyshack, Fletch, Three Amigos. But if you want to watch three great classic Chevy Chase films, I suggest Foul Play from 1978, Seems Like Old Times from 1980, and Modern Problems from 1981. The first two are with Goldie Hawn. If you love Chevy Chase, or you want to see Chevy Chase at his apex, watch those three movies. Just a suggestion. Anyway, back to Clark Griswold. His selfishness is just so focused on him. He wants his version and vision of what he thinks is a great family outing, vacation, Christmas gathering. I know we're not talking about the original Vacation, but the pool scene with Christy Brinkley, he skinny dips in a hotel pool with a woman he's been flirting with on the road while his family is in the room. I mean, what the fuck are you doing, man? You know? And then, of course, with Mary, who's played by Nicolette Scorsese, no relation to Martin. The role wasn't quite as memorable, but I mean, the lines that I was just smiling. You know, I was just looking for something for my wife. God rest her soul.
God rest her soul. What the fuck?
I mean,
his wife's dead. What the fuck is wrong with you?
The best part in that scene is that he's like his flirty middle-aged guy laugh, like the turn away with the wheezing in the hands, like that awful, awkward 40-year-old middle-aged guy flirtation vibe that he's got going on is so great. I mean, watch him in that scene and the way he reacts to everything. He's great. I mean, Clark's meltdowns were hilarious. I mean, they really brought out the worst in him. You're right, Joseph. He's abusive. He's destructive. He's self-centered. I think through all that, his behavior is determined by the way other people treat him, like his boss, his family, his cousins, whatever. And rather than engaging in conversation, I think he's very passive-aggressive, and he lets all that shit build up. So, of course, he's going to have an explosion, you know? The fact that he doesn't ever learn from his mistakes makes him more of a precautionary character rather than hated, I think. I don't ever think he's a jerk or terrible. I just think he's an idiot. And plain and simple, he's selfish and idealistic. It's a character flaw more so than an excoriation nature. I don't think he means to be an asshole. I don't think he's intentional. He doesn't have intentionality about being an asshole. I just think he doesn't know any better. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, I'm with you all for the most part. I think that he's definitely he's trying to fulfill his version of Christmas, and he's so disappointed and gets pissed off and he's so angry when nobody else lives up to his personal version of Christmas. So it does make him the villain or the bad character, the kind of the asshole character of this movie. I can agree with that. But at the end of the day, he is trying to go all out to he's trying to give his kids that amazing version of Christmas that he got when he was stuck in the attic, freezing his ass off, watching those old timey, the films of when he was a kid. He's trying to give his kids he's trying to regain that kind of Christmas spirit and that kind of Christmas holiday that he had when he was a kid. He's trying to give that to his kids now that his family's there, his parents are there, his in-laws are there, but he can't get it. You know what I mean? They're with cats as gifts and the dog running around and the squirrel in the fucking tree and the jelly in the one club. Everything's going wrong. Is he an asshole? Yes. The fuck is he still flirting with women on vacation for? Jesus Christ! I know it's a running day. I think it's hilarious. But yeah, I still think that's what prevents him from being the total asshole. Like there is a good side to Clark Griswold, just like there is a good side to a lot of the villains that we've mentioned today. But I think to be like the biggest villain character from a Christmas movie, I think they can't have a good side. I think they just got to be a complete asshole that nobody really likes, like Uncle Frank. He's such a nice guy, then he's such an asshole, then he's such self-centered, and then he's like way off on one end, and he comes back to the other end of the spectrum. So he's such an interesting character. This is a great pick, dude, because he's one of my favorite. This is my favorite Christmas movie of all time. I think we had that conversation last year when we did best Christmas movie of all time. This was my pick because he's awesome, man. He's funny, he's hilarious, he's way out there in a lot of his decisions. So good pick. I just don't think he's the worst, man. He's got too much of a heart. You see how many fucking lights he put in the house?
I will give you some credit, Joseph, because we were watching Vacation. Jessica and I were watching, and she's like, "God, this guy's my wife." She was like, "God, this guy's such an asshole," and I was like, "No, he's not. He's not so bad, you know." And and then he goes and flirts.
He's
with
trying his best.
I understand that. Like, I'm sorry. Continue.
No, I was just saying that to me, the scene that best symbolizes the best is when the best version of Clark Griswold is at the end when the credits are rolling. All his family members abandon him, and he's standing by himself, and they're playing the Christmas Vacation song, and the credits are rolling, and Clark is completely isolated. And I don't know if that was intentional by the director or whatever, but that just shows that the isolation and that the individuality and the loneliness that he embodies, because he's in his own world. And that's why I don't think he's so terrible. I just think he's misunderstood, and he's got good intentions other than the infidelity. He's got good intentions, but he just doesn't know how to express them correctly. But go ahead.
Trying to have a good time. You see the Crisco on the sled? And...
Laters, dudes.
And again, love this movie. We do very much enjoy watching it. It's hilarious. It's comical. All this shit that I mentioned with all the dumb, horrible shit that he does to his family, he puts them in danger, things like that, disregarding their feelings. It's funny. It's an old movie, so it's funny. He has good intentions. He has a heart. There's that moment where he's watching the old films, and they bring a tear to his eye, and he just wants to feel that way again. He wants to, remember how he felt that day with his family, and he wants his kids to have that. At what cost? I mean, you got to recognize you're doing more harm than good, and I understand. Like, I mean, we all have a cousin Eddie, and you got to deal with that. So there's some points, and I could see what, I feel strong with my pick, but I understand that there's you can poke holes in my argument with things like that. A lot of it can be his family's a little kind of crazy too, but not his immediate family, and he does some harm and whatnot to his immediate family, and that's where I think that's the one people, at least the group of people that you should be trying to take care of the most. Grace, sorry,
the blessing.
10 years ago.
So I like what you guys said too.
I think everybody had good points on their character. So guys, before we wrap up, we want to give a shout out, and also we want to just let everybody know that Joseph will be on a podcast, Did Not Need to Know. Bob and I were both on one of the episodes. I did one with Crispin about the Crispin Wall murders. Bob did one about an owl murdering somebody down the stairs. I don't remember. But Joseph, could you tell us a little bit about the show? What you guys will be talking about?
I don't want to give too much because I know they like to keep that to themselves before. So, but we are going to talk about the West Memphis Three. It was three individuals that were convicted as teenagers in 1993 of murdering three boys in West Memphis, Arkansas. One of them was sentenced to death. One of them and the other two were sentenced to and this is all while they were teenagers. This was I forgot how old they were, but they were sentenced in 1994 as teenagers. Again, one was sentenced to death. The other two sentenced to life in prison and then some. There was a lot of, we're going to, and
don't spoil it. Don't spoil it all.
Okay, I'll just leave it at that. I'll just leave it at that. There's some stuff that goes, there's a lot to process with this one, but those are the main points.
She said.
I listened to their past episode, a great episode about Mary Knight. I do have a bone to pick.
Fucked up.
It was pretty fucked up, but I do have a bone to pick with both of them. They're not going to listen to this episode until Friday because we're not releasing it. So, Joseph, you have to do me a favor when you meet with them tomorrow. Let them know I was upset about their comment involving people who work in the meatpacking industry. My father worked in the meatpacking industry in the late 70s and early 80s. And if you haven't listened to the episode yet, Danielle says anybody who works in the meatpacking industry like this Mary Knight is weird. And rather than editing it out, Jenna shushes her shh, don't say that. You're going to offend some people. I was like, you could have edited it out. So I was highly offended as somebody who, the son of a person who worked in the
meat packer, the third generation meat packer.
So you got to let them know that, Joseph, and
all right.
let them know that I was brutally and highly offended.
He is very offended. He's a meat packing fan, and he will take that to his grave.
So everybody,
should be interesting.
Yes, please listen to the Did Not Need to Know podcast. They're great friends of ours. We're going to have them back for an episode next year, hopefully February, March, when we start getting...
Is it crazy to say that next year is like in a couple of weeks? Holy shit, dude. Where did this year go?
It's gone by too fast, and we're going to reflect on the year next week. So, man, it's been an incredible year. Guys, any final thoughts on worst Christmas movie characters or anything on your mind?
Without the bad, you can't have the good. You got to have, there's got to always be a Debbie Downer during the holiday season to make you appreciate what you have. Okay, so appreciate these characters. I love these characters. They're what make these movies great and interesting and all that good stuff. And try to catch y'all sit around this weekend. Try to catch a Christmas movie, Home Alone. Nightmare Before Christmas, Christmas Vacation, something fun. What are we talking about there earlier, Joseph? Your favorite pick from last year? What was it?
Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way. I mean, all these movies. Sinbad was great. The movie. Try to watch Christmas movie, have a drink, man, enjoy them. Just like Halloween, right? I like to watch a lot of horror movies. Christmas time, you got to watch, besides the Hallmark Channel, you got to watch a lot of those old school great Christmas movies from when we were kids or when we were younger, at least.
I want to save thoughts like that. Yes, amplify that too. But I'll save some of that for our final episode of the year, where we just talk about a little bit more about Christmas and the end of the year. I do want to say I was finally able to see Clerks 3. And Ran, I think I don't know. I was pleasantly surprised, and
you liked it.
I did. I'm not gonna lie. At first I kind of thought it wasn't gonna be necessary. I don't know if Bob. I would like to talk about a little bit about it, but I don't know if Bob ever plans to see it.
You can talk about it. I don't need to see it for you to talk about it.
We don't need to spoil it, but just give your thoughts.
I was very much surprised in the very beginning about how where they were in life, and I didn't think it was as censored as you kind of I don't know. I got the impression from you when you described that you had seen it that it was
very sanitized.
Sanitized.
Yeah.
I didn't a little bit, but I think they, the character of Randall was still a dick and an asshole, so he still had his jokes. I thought Elias had a better performance. I can't remember the kid's name. He's not a kid anymore. Like I said, I didn't think it was necessary. Now that I've seen it, I'm like, okay,
the best,
and I did enjoy it. I did.
The best part about Elias is how he got more and more goth as he came on screen. That was the best part. You gotta watch it just for that.
Continually gets more and more over the top, and it was funny.
That alone will make you laugh. Guys, we just got a few more minutes, but I want to share something that you wrote today, Joseph. And Bob, you have experience on this too. Quick thoughts on Mike Leach, because I was listening to some sound bites.
Oh, man.
Incredibly sweet, funny, smart guy. Never played college football.
Yeah.
Had a law degree. Had some, an offensive genius. He was a head coach for 22 years. But you guys know more about him. Share your thoughts on him.
Go ahead, Justin.
When that happened, when it was announced today, I just thought that was extremely sad. I posted something on our Instagram page, like we've done with individuals that have meant something to us in one way or another. It was extremely sad because, like I said, he was very unconventional. His coaching style was not something that was well received in the beginning. You'll read about it I know we're going to get into a little bit of sports here. If you read about it, he implemented the air raid system at Texas Tech, and I was very much a fan of it. It was something that colleges weren't doing or weren't taking seriously, and nowadays it's like one of the it's very, very common. We see a lot of quarterbacks with tremendous numbers, Heisman winning numbers that are get what they, the results because of the offense that they're running. Yeah. And aside from all that unusual life advice, but when you read between the lines, it was very much what somebody maybe needed to hear. If you take the time to read some of the things that he said to his team, very influential on his players. I know a lot of former players have released statements expressing their sorrow and their condolences to the family and what he meant to them. And like I said in the post, me and Bob and some of our other friends took a trip to Lubbock for a football camp, and I just
got to meet the man. Yeah,
got to meet the man.
Hear him speak, and it's just like wow.
And it was just eye opening to me. And since then, I mean, it's because of him that I am a Texas Tech fan. I am a Texas Tech Red Raiders fan. That will always be my team. But like I said, I was such a fan of him. I was very upset when he was let go. The situation behind that, go do your research on it. You'll see that there was some suspect shit going on there. Yeah. And so I continued, like I said, to cheer him on at Washington State. I would follow that team at Mississippi State, where he was currently. I would follow that team as well, and just root for him as the individual and for his team. It's extremely sad. It really was.
It really is a tragic loss, man. I mean, he's only 61 years old. They often say genius is misunderstood, and that really is the case, especially for Mike Leach. When you bring in this entirely new idea of what an offense can be, and you're laughed at, and you're, at the beginning, like nobody really, they called him the pirate, they called him the mad scientist because he had all these different ideas of what offense is going to be, and this is what we're going to do. And they go up against powerhouses like A&M and like Texas and all these other Big 12 teams like Nebraska, and they start winning and they start upsetting people, and he starts putting up all these numbers, and he has guys like Cliff Kingsbury, who's a head coach now in the NFL, and the offspring of Cliff Kingsbury is Patrick Mahomes, who is probably the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now at this time. And that's all true. And that's all an offset of Mike Leach and what he brought to the table and what he taught Kingsbury. To get somebody who can change the game is so fucking rare. Football's been going on for so long that there's only so many ways to run an offense or to run a defense or to run a sweep or to run a pass or to run a scheme, and have a guy come in and completely change shit and do something of like, well, yeah, it's kind of like the West Coast offense, but it's kind of like this. It's a little different. We have this, and this, and we're going to spread you out. We're going to have 5 wide receivers, 4 wide receivers, 6 wide receivers. We're going to fucking do a lot of different things. Before our senior year, Joseph, we got to see him speak. That was like my first holy shit moment. I was in awe of this coach because of how smart and how confident he seemed, and also how different he seemed. He wasn't the raw guy.
No,
he wasn't the guy that wanted you wanted to run through a brick wall for. But you hear him talk, and you're like, maybe this guy's onto something. Maybe this guy has something. This is different. Never heard of this. Maybe he's got something. And we see with his winning record and his rapport with the kids and his players, he had something, man. And it's such a big loss. I think it's a big loss for sports community, college sports community, for the football community, because this guy had something different, man. And I hope a lot of people can see that.
When you coach, when you're head coach for 22 straight years without a break, you're doing something right. A guy who once coached in Norway in 1989, never played a down in college football, and then had this legacy. I think he's going to be far greater appreciated in death, like so many people, than he was in life. So, God rest his soul, and condolences to his family. That's our show, everyone. Listeners, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up and let us know who your favorite worst Christmas movie character is. Most importantly, let us know what you think about the show. You may reach us at formidableopponents@gmail.com, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, any form of social media by searching for Formidable Opponents. We want to thank Creative Little Pill for great artwork. That's me in junior high. Please follow her on Instagram at Creative Little Pill. Please rate and review us on Apple and Spotify, and join us for our year-end show our year-end wrap-up next year. Another nostalgia roundtable where we just
Next
shoot the
week.
shit.
Next week.
Next week. Did I say next year? Next week, as we discuss Christmas and New Year's Day. And remember to listen to Joseph on that episode on Did Not Need to Know. So for Bob and Joseph, this is Randall. We'll see you all next week.
Why the hell did you take your shoes off?
Why the hell you dressed like a chicken?
I got it.